sports, here's the latest from the City Pulse News team. City Pulse tonight.
Good evening. The budget. Business says it won't cure the deficit. Labor says no medicine for job creation. Paul Martin says it's just what Dr. Canada ordered.
Mr. Speaker, this budget follows an unprecedented degree of consultation with Canadians. We have gained a great deal from this process. But one thing stands out above all others. Canadians seek fundamental change. They want their government to have a game plan and pursue it.
In Coach Martin's playbook, first, no new taxes, but some tax breaks are gone. Also gone, age tax credits for about 1 million seniors. Defense spending takes a $7 billion hit over 5 years. That's 16.5 thousand job cuts and 4 base closures, including Downsview. UI benefits have been trimmed and the qualifying time lengthened. A 2-year extension on the public service wage freeze. It'll include MPs, cabinet, and the PMO. That's all to cut the deficit to $39.7 billion next year, down from the current $46 billion.
We're putting in place an agenda for innovation in the new economy. We are responding to the needs of small business. We are launching a strategy where government knows both when it can lend a helping hand and, as importantly, when it should stand aside.
So there's the overview. Now let's go to money specialist Libby Znaimer for a look at some of the finer points.
Ben, you might say the government's guiding budget principle was make the rich pay most. The one noticeable exception, seniors.
We're guaranteeing the poverty of senior Canadians because they were diligent, they were responsible, they had savings, they did everything right, and now they're going to be whacked beyond their wildest dreams.
This was the first of many post-budget seminars. The advice here, move right now to protect your retirement before the government cuts back even more.
I think we've got to maximize all possible RRSP contributions today. Make that over-contribution today. Set up spousal programs today. Your husband and wife must have separate incomes so that they both don't go over that $49,000 threshold.
Wealthy Canadians are certainly going to have an increase in their tax bill because of the elimination of the capital gains exemption, the changes to the tax shelter area. Corporate tax for businesses is going to go up to some extent as well for larger companies.
Also hitting the rich and the restaurant industry, business meal deductions have been cut back from 80% to 50%. Restaurateurs say that tax break generates 5% of all sales.
5% of the total business across Canada is estimated to be, it supports 24,000 jobs. And all we know is that if business goes down, which it will because of this, then we will lay off people.
Good news for small business, a promise from government to monitor the bank's lending criteria.
Somebody's going to get involved and say, hey, that loan, that's a good idea, that shouldn't be turned down. I think there's a lot of jobs that could be created by small and medium-sized business, but the thing is that banks aren't lending the money. So I think that if the government starts watching and intervening, I think a lot of jobs will be created.
Spared in this budget? The people who usually pay most, the middle-class family. But what about the one item that the folks in the streets were looking for? Job creation.
Let them make money and pay tax. And they have a good life. They go home and say, hey, I'm working, I bring home $10. I pay $2 for tax. That's it.
Well, there is nothing here to create jobs directly. And if you work for the Defense Department, Paul Martin could be sending you to the unemployment lines. It's TAPS for CFPB Toronto at Downsview. Pam Seidel paid a visit to the base.
Most of the people on the base were prepared for downsizing, and it's been in the rumor mill for ages that Downsview would be closing. So I think most people are prepared for a closure. For the military people, I mean, we can get posted elsewhere. There's other positions for us.
Right now, 2,400 people work on the base. It is expected that almost 1,000 jobs will be permanently lost by this closure. Most, 610, will be civilian positions. It's feared that they will be the ones most adversely affected by this, not to mention the dozens of shopkeepers in the area who rely on the base to keep them in business.
Considering 30-40% of our business is from the people on the base.
No kidding, that much?
Yeah, it's definitely going to hit sales significantly, so And seeing overhead costs has always been constant, and decrease in sales, it's really going to hurt the bottom line. And here you go, thank you.
After all these years, you figure you have a secure job, and then it's taken away from you.
Are you hopeful that you'll be able to be placed somewhere else, or what will you do?
I'm hoping. Yeah, well, if not, like everything else, you got to go out there and start all over again, which is not a fun thing to do.
I have great empathy for some of the problems that lie ahead, but at the same time, I'm confident that we have a plan in place, and in the fullness of time, we'll be able to present all of the employees with a reasonable variety of options to choose from as to how they want to proceed from here.
There's been a military presence in this area since 1928, so it'll mean a major change in the community when the base closes, probably within 2 years. As for the 1,200 acres now in the hands of the military, word is it's going to be turned into open recreational green space. In Downsview, I'm Pam Siegel for City Pulse Tonight.
Next tonight to the political fallout shelter in Ottawa, and this late dispatch from political specialist Colin Vaughan.
The consensus on the budget here in Ottawa tonight, Finance Minister Paul Martin did not go far enough.
I thought a new government with a new mandate would have gone after the deficit and the debt with a vengeance and done a lot in this first year.
They never really cut what they had to cut.
But with the Quebec election coming up, maybe Bouchard wanted a tougher budget to show Ottawa as heartless. So the Liberals play to Quebec again, although the Finance Minister would like us to think otherwise.
The economic recovery in this country is very fragile. We're doing it on the basis of exports. Consumer demand is still low, and that what our view was that it was very, very important to encourage consumer demand and not do anything that would discourage a pickup in the economy and ultimately job creation. And so we just felt that Canadians have been hit so badly by taxes over the past 5 years that we really had to keep that to a minimum.
And then there's the notion of turning the Downsview Forces Base into a park. It's an idea that gets wackier by the minute. Defense Minister David Colonette says it was a dream of the Prime Minister. But who pays for a park?
We're looking at a number of options. One of them is to put together an organization such as the National Trust, does operate in Britain with stately homes and the coastline, which has government funding, which has local funding, which has obviously private funding from wealthy individuals that want to bequeath something to future generations.
As one joker put it here today, Downsview, harborfront without the lake. Colin Vaughan, Ottawa, City Pulse tonight.
Your call now. Where would you make the cuts?
I would cut the retraining programs that the federal government is putting into practice. They've spent $3.7 billion on a program that studies have proven haven't done much to help the unemployed.
I'd probably cut UI benefits down from 52 weeks, whatever they're at now, to 26.
I think it's really time for the federal government to look at its own operations, and there is a lot of duplication.
Well, again, there's not much in the document about the Grits' #1 promise of jobs. With the unemployment rate hovering around 11.6% last month, Paul Martin predicts it won't drop below 11% before 1996. Ben?
Oh, bad news. Well, there's lots more to get you caught up on tonight. First, over to assignment for a check on the streets, and Dwight Drummond has news of 2 high-speed police pursuits. Dwight?
That's right, Ben. In one of the pursuits, 4 teens took police for a long, hot ride down the parkway. The stolen car blew a tire but kept on going. You can see the sparks. The teens eventually got off the highway and bailed out downtown. The foot chase was on, but they didn't get far. Officers cornered them one by one. All 4 in custody, now charged with numerous offenses. As for that car, the suspects left it smoking. The fire department was called in to take care of it. 33 Division detectives will be taking care of the investigation. This pursuit started in Durham region and ended here with a crash on the 401 at Kennedy. It's reported a man came home and found 3 people fleeing his house. He followed them in a car, alerting police by cell phone along the way. They took over about 15 Ks later. 3 men were in custody. There were no injuries in the crash. A hot night on our highways. Back to you, Ben.
Okay, Dwight, let's swing our lens to Sarajevo next and get you caught up with the rest of the world tonight. Serb big guns still silent in Sarajevo tonight, but a truce in Tuzla still elusive. Canadian peacekeepers sent scurrying after 5 Swedish soldiers were wounded in a mortar attack there. And at peace talks in Bonn, the Sarajevo ceasefire held up as a glowing example for ending the Balkan battles.
We have been pursuing the opening of the Tuzla airport very actively with the Serbs, and I'm hopeful that this can be accomplished.
Tomorrow, the diplomatic focus shifts to Zagreb, Croatia, where negotiators will mull over putting Sarajevo under UN administration. Some Cold War skullduggery uncovered in Washington tonight, with spying charges laid against CIA bigwig Aldrich Ames and his wife Maria. They're accused of passing U.S. government secrets to agents of the former Soviet Union and, after its demise, Russia. Their take reported to be more than $1.5 million. If convicted, they could get life behind bars. All but case closed tonight in the search for 3 law students who tried to walk across the Lake Erie ice. Rescuers believe they fell through and drowned on a 15-kilometer trek from Hamburg, New York.